Hello everyone, welcome to a new year and new videos on my channel. It's been a little bit, but it's okay. We had a bit of a buying hiatus, then a bit of a reading slump, and then a bit of a dealing with other things. So we're just starting this year off fresh. And we're just gonna pretend that like the last 6 months didn't happen. But I want to thank everybody who has watched my channel and found me this past year or last year, whatever. Thank you very much. So we are going to start this year off by talking about last year. So today I'm going to be doing what I did last year for my reads of the year. I'm just going to be tier ranking the manga that I read over the past year because I don't really have the capacity to do like a best or the worst. And I also didn't read a ton because of like my aforementioned reading slump. So we are just going to go ahead and tier rank the manga that I read. Excellent. So let's just jump into it. This is my tier ranker. I have 4 tiers. So let's talk about what the tiers are. From the bottom, we are just going to do, it's just going to be license announcements from publishers. So these are things that were not very inspired, didn't really connect with me that much. I didn't like them very much. Much like most of the license announcements from publishers for shoujo manga this year. Just not, I mean, the year before we got a ton of really great stuff. So it kind of makes sense that the next year would be like a little bit lackluster, but like also like do better. So the next one is arguing about manga demographics. And these are things that like I understand like why people might do it and why maybe it's important or whatever, but I am just not interested anymore. Just like not something that's it's not for me anymore. I feel like next year I'm not going to be arguing with people as much about manga demographics because it's like beating a dead horse. So the next tier up is shoujo anime coming soon. This are things that are like really good. Like I'm really excited for all the shoujo anime that is coming out soon. We're getting a lot more of it than we have in the past. It could always be better, but we're doing pretty good compared to the past with the shoujo anime. So these are manga that I think are really good. Like they're not perfect, but definitely you should read them because I really enjoyed them. And then the top tier is if you only read these, you'll be set. So these are my absolute favorite manga. They are ones that you should read, and if you only read these manga, you will have a really great time. Last year, I read a total of 26 manga, and 2 of those were seinen, 4 of those were josei, and 20 of them were shoujo. I read no shonen manga. I might have read a few chapters of My Hero Academia, but nothing substantial. Some of these were new series that started, some are ongoing series. I don't have that, like, I didn't go that deep into the analytics of the manga. I actually slacked off tracking my manga a little bit. Last year, because of the reading slump and whatever, I've stopped using my Notion for whatever reason. So might not be like super accurate. Like I might have read a few volumes of A Sign of Affection, but I didn't write them down, so I don't remember. All right, so these are going to be in no like particular order or anything like that. So let's just dive into it. The first one is Queen's Quality. And this year we got a simulpub of Queen's Quality, which simultaneously saved me like, I don't know, like $200 a year getting Betsukami magazine subscription. And also just like, I don't know, it was so validating to have my favorite series get a simulpub, like so exciting. If you know anything about me, you know that Queen's Quality is my favorite manga of all time, pretty much. It's definitely my favorite ongoing manga right now. So there's only one place that this is going to be, and that is going to be in If You Only Read These, You'll Be Set. I feel like if Queen's Quality is the only manga that you read, then you'll be fine. It'll be great. I got a lot of people like really interested. I like kind of like shilled like Queen's Quality when I was at Otakon to a bunch of people, especially to some comic book store owners. So Queen's Quality continues to be like, to use a term I hate, peak fiction. It is just so, like, it just hits you like right where you need to. The world building is great. The story is excellent. I think it's a little bit confusing, especially because they're so long between volumes. Like, it's like 6 months between printed volumes, which is insane. It's a monthly manga. So even like going month to month with this plot is like so intricate now that you can get a little bit lost. So I need to always do like some back reading or some summarizing before I read a new chapter or a new volume, because it can get a little bit confusing, but we are like deep into the story. But it continues to be such a like heartwarming and beautiful story. The action is excellent. The art is top tier. If we don't get a Queen's Quality anime in the future, then I'm gonna have some words with some people. I don't know who yet, but we need to have some words. So the next manga that I read is A Condition Called Love. So I only read one volume of this. I don't have like a huge feel for the series. Normally, like if I want to like have a real opinion on a series, then I'm going to give it 3 volumes, but there's more than that out now. But at the time that I read this, there was only 1 volume out. So A Condition Called Love is a high school romance series. It comes highly recommended by a lot of people. And I really enjoyed the first volume. It's kind of it's a little bit messy, I think, or it's going to get a little bit messy, but like not in a like 90s shoujo messy way, in like a very like human sort of way. I don't know. But it's really promising. I have more volumes of it that I need to read. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to put A Condition Called Love in shoujo anime coming soon, because I thought this was really good. It really scratched my like romance, shoujo manga, high school romance itch or whatever. So I think it looks really good. So really enjoyed the 1 volume that I read. Next up is Nina the Starry Bride. So Nina is a like fantasy josei series that I love so much. I feel like if you like kind of like Yona of the Dawn a little bit, like if you like the romance aspect of Yona of the Dawn, you are really gonna like Nina the Starry Bride. So I was reading this digitally. So I think I read up to volume 7 digitally, but I stopped buying it digitally because they announced that it was going to print. So there's 2 volumes out in print right now. So I have both of those volumes. Like I haven't read them because I have read them previously, but I might like read them to reread or whatever. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. But Nina is so much fun. There is like a little bit of a love triangle-ish. And I feel like when I stopped reading, it was like got really, really interesting. And then I just like, I didn't drop it. I just stopped reading until I could get the print volumes. Okay, so Nina is like pretending to be like a priestess. And she like comes from nothing, and then she is like basically like captured and recruited to pretend to be this priestess who has died. And she kind of like gets involved with the royalty of the country that she's in. She gets involved with this guy named Azure, who is like a prince, but he's like the black sheep of the family, I guess. And then she gets sent away to get married to this like enemy kingdom basically. And the prince over there that she's supposed to get married to is Set, and most people are Set girlies. I am an Azure girly, like the other guy. So I'm really interested to see where this goes. There's a lot of people, like characters that are kind of like morally gray. You have to figure out like what they're doing, what are their motives. I'm really interested in Azure, to kind of see like what's going on with him, what is his plan for stuff, because like around volume 6 or 7, there is like kind of a twist I don't know. It's so good and interesting. I love it. There's an anime coming out, so we are like living in the time of Nina the Starry Bride. So if you're not reading Nina the Starry Bride, then you need to get on it. So I am going to put Nina the Starry Bride into if you only read these, you'll be set, because it is so much fun. It's so interesting. It's so good. And then we have Don't Call It Mystery, volumes 1 and 2. It's an omnibus combined. I hate when they do the numbering like this, when it's like it's an omnibus, they put 2 volumes together and they're like, oh, it's volumes 1 and 2. Like, just call it volume 1, because there's no other like existing version of this in English, so whatever. That's just my little pet peeve. But Don't Call It Mystery is a josei by Yume Tamura, who did 7 Seeds, which is not in English yet, so what's going on there? But this is a kind of like a mystery story. It's kind of this guy who's really perceptive and really smart, and he just keeps on getting dragged into solving mysteries. Kind of think of it a little bit about like a reluctant Sherlock Holmes. He has the intellect and kind of some of the mannerisms that are typical of Sherlock Holmes characters, but he does not want to be involved. All this man wants to do is make curry, and the police will not let him because they can't solve their own murders. So really, really good, kind of different, interesting art. Love it so much. I went on a buying ban, so I'm really behind on this, but definitely very excellent. I've watched the live action drama series for this, which is also excellent, and pretty close to the manga, so that was really fun to watch too. So I am going to put Don't Call It Mystery in if you only read these, you'll be set, because it is beautiful and perfect and so much fun. So next off, I have an older one, Angel Sanctuary. I read, I think, 5 volumes of this series. And it is a controversial series. Well, yeah. And it's so convoluted and hard, but basically it's like about this guy, who is legitimately in love with his sister, and she is in love with him. Which is the worst part about this. But he is kind of drawn into this heavenly rivalry because he is an reincarnation of this like angel, and is drawn into like saving the world or stopping the world from destruction and like having angel powers and stuff like that. That is a very bad description, but the art is like so detailed and beautiful. I think the worst part about this is that the main character is in love with his sister. It also like doesn't paint it as like a good thing. Like, his life is very tragic and he is punished a lot because he is in love with his sister, and because of the things that he has done with his sister. So like, it's very much not romanticizing that type of relationship. Like, he has a very bad time specifically because of his romantic feelings for his sister. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's an older like manga, and I don't know what year it was published, but it does have this kind of like, the first few volumes have this kind of like cyber horror type of thing, like kind of like, I don't know if I would classify it really as horror, but it's kind of like this like Y2K horror attitude to it. It's really good. I think it did put me into a bit of a reading slump because there's so much information thrown at you, and it's so detailed that my brain could not handle it. But I hope to pick it up, the rest of it. I think I own up to volume 12, so that will be an adventure. So I am gonna put Angel Sanctuary in shoujo anime coming soon because it is really interesting, and I think I'm having a good time reading it. It's very good, despite its problematic elements, but not really problematic because the character is punished for them. Next up, I have Golden Japanesque, a Yokohama love story or whatever. This series, I really liked the first few volumes of it. I think the first 2 I read previously, and then I read up to volume 5, and it just, like, it was fine before, just kind of like a cute, like, historical romance. But then like, it just went in a direction I was not wanting, and it went in a really cliche direction. Like, there's a huge, like, time skip in it, and then they introduced a second, like a rival love interest that just, like, it didn't feel like it was doing anything for me. I didn't like that there was this huge time jump and just the way the story went. The art is really nice, and I kind of like the main character and how she's like learning to love herself, despite being like ridiculed for her looks because she is like half Japanese, in like I want to say like Meiji Japan. So like it's okay, but I feel like this type of story has been done 500 times, and I would have liked something a little bit more for my historical romance series. So I am going to put Golden Japanesque in arguing about manga demographics because, like, I can see why some people might like it, but it is not for me anymore. I think I'm actually going to get rid of the volumes I have of this because I have no interest in reading it. Also, the updates for this are really, really slow. All right, next I have Oshinoko. I only read one volume of this, and I only read this because I am working on reading a bunch of manga about idols to make a video about it. And I did not like Oshinoko. There are a few reasons I don't like Oshinoko. One is just things I know about. It's in the future, the relationships between the characters. I don't like the reincarnation aspect of it, the way that it was done, that it's kind of like this adult man in a baby's body. I feel like there are different ways you could have told this story. I personally don't like the depiction of idols in it. Part of that is because I am an idol fan, and so I just don't like the way that it talks about idols personally. There are specific ways that certain things are drawn that like really creeped me out. Just the way that panels were set up and like the gaze it put females in, I guess. Well, that was a weird sentence. But just like the way it was like looking at females and stuff like that. Like the female characters, especially the young female characters. So I have a lot of problems with Oshinoko. It is not a series for me. I know it is super popular, but it's just not for me. So I've dropped it. I was going to read 3 volumes of it, but I decided I'm not going to. So I'm going to put licensed announcements from publishers. I personally did not like Oshinoko. I know a lot of people really like Oshinoko, but it is not something that I am interested in reading ever again or watching the anime at all. So next I read the entire series of A Silent Voice. I put the picture of the box set here because that's what I own. And I read the whole thing. I did watch the movie like years ago. There was like a screening of it in a movie theater. A Silent Voice is a bit of a controversial story. It's about a guy who in elementary school was a bully towards a deaf girl, and then in high school he tries to make up for those, like the bad things that he did. He tries to befriend her and kind of like get forgiveness and become her friend. I think it's really well done in that aspect. Really have that many problems with the general story, and I don't have many problems with it at all. I think with reading the manga, having seen the movie before, that kind of ruined my reading experience a little bit because I feel like it's a pretty good adaptation. I think the manga has a bit more story with different characters and stuff like that in it, but the general story, like, I feel like the emotional impact of the story was taken away from the manga because I had seen the movie previously. But that doesn't mean that the manga isn't good. I think it's a very good manga, and it's definitely worth a read. So I am going to put A Silent Voice in Shoujo Anime Coming Soon because it's really good. Next up is Honey Lemon Soda. I'm so glad we finally have this. So Honey Lemon Soda is one of the most popular shoujo manga in Japan, if not the most popular, like currently running one. It is so cute. So it's it's about a girl who like is a shy girl in high school and she doesn't really know how to make friends, and just her wanting to change herself and grow. And the person that helps her grow is this boy at school who seems like a bit of a delinquent, but I don't think he really is. So it's a little bit of a cliche, like high school love story. Shy girl tries to break out of her shell, but I think that it's, I don't know, it feels very endearing to me. I like the characters, I like the relationship, and I like the general like story of it. Like, you know that I am like a high school romance kind of like person, like that's my thing. So Honey Lemon Soda, I think it just feels like really refreshing. I feel like if you like Kimi ni Todoke, you're gonna like Honey Lemon Soda. I've only read, I think, one volume of it. I have a few more that I need to catch up on. But I'm just really happy that we finally have this series, and I am just looking forward to reading like a really refreshing shoujo manga series. So I'm going to put Honey Lemon Soda in shoujo anime coming soon because I really enjoyed it. I do need to read more to kind of like give a full review, obviously. Next up is Tsubaki Cho Lonely Planet. This is by Mika Yamamori, who did Daytime Shooting Star. And this is another kind of like age gap high school romance. This girl is turned out of her house because her father is a terrible father and has a bunch of debts. And she ends up being like a live-in housekeeper for a author or a novelist. And he is in his like 20s and she is like 16 or something like that. And so it's kind of like her working for this novelist, getting to know him, and kind of the relationship that forms between them. And so, yes, is it an age gap romance? Yeah. Am I enjoying it? Yeah. This is my thing about age gap romances. It kind of depends on the story, really, or the setting. I am an adult, so I can read these things knowing that these things should not happen in real life. Like a 16-year-old should not be like in a romantic relationship with a 20-year-old, but it is a fantasy story to me, you know? So I can read this with critical thinking skills. So I enjoy Tsubaki Cho Lonely Planet, and I'm going to continue to read it. I think it is super cute. If you don't like the age gap thing, then you don't have to read it. But if that doesn't bother you, then I think it's perfectly fun. I really like Mika Yamamori's art. It's really cute and like a little bit whimsical. I think she really knows how to set up panels in a manga. So really looking forward to reading more of this story. So I am going to put it in shoujo anime coming soon. You're going to notice a trend because I pretty much only read manga that I like. So next up is I'm actually going to move this one over. So I'm going to do Urara first. This is by Chika Shiomi, and I love this series. It is a short series. I think it's only 5 volumes, and it's kind of about this girl who transforms into a supernatural being to fight ghosts, and the 2 boys that help her fight these ghosts or help ghosts like move on to the other world or whatever. And it's really fun. The comedy between the 2 boys is really good. There is kind of a love square a bit because one of the boys is in love with Urara, the girl, and then the other boy is in love with the ghost that she turns into. So it's kind of a whole thing. She kind of goes back and forth between the 2 boys. The 2 boys, they kind of have a love-hate relationship, so it's a lot of fun. The comedy is really great, and I just think that the story is like really cool. So Urara is gonna go into shoujo anime coming soon because I really enjoyed it. Next is Rasetsu by the same mangaka, and it is kind of a sequel to Urara. It does feature one of the boys, the boy who is in love with the spirit, and the whole premise of this manga is that he runs into this girl who looks like the spirit that he was in love with, and the girl Rasetsu, she is like cursed by this demon, and if she doesn't find her true love by the time she turns 20, then she's going to be taken by the demon, basically. And so it is about them helping ghosts move to the other world, fighting ghosts, and then also trying to find a solution to her demon problem. And then a bit of a love story, or a little bit of a romance, because he's trying to figure out, the guy is trying to figure out, why does this girl look like this ghost that I'm in love with? So really fun. You don't have to read Urara to read Rasetsu. Some people show up from Urara and obviously the characters, but it's all like pretty much explained. So I really liked Rasetsu. It was really emotional and really fun. Loved it. Great characters, great art, beautiful. So Rasetsu is going into shoujo anime coming soon because I really enjoyed it. Next up is Daily Report About My Witch Senpai. So this is, I believe, I don't know if this is Shoujo or Josei, I don't remember. But this is kind of like a slice of life story about a couple. One of them is a witch, one of them is a regular human. This kind of seems like a world in which like witches are just in daily life. It kind of feels like Kiki's Delivery Service, that sort of like magic system where just like witches are out living, have regular jobs, and nobody really like bats an eye about it. It's just a normal part of life. So it's just a cute romance with this little bit of magic put in. It is about two adults. They work in the same company, so it's really fun, really cute. And I am not sure where I'm gonna put this because like I really enjoyed it, but it's not something I'm gonna be like racing to get the next volume for. So it could go into, I think it's just gonna go into a shoujo anime coming soon because I do want to continue to read it. Next up is Yona of the Dawn. We all know what Yona of the Dawn is, but right now, like, the manga is like crazy. There is war, there is politics, everything. It's super, super interesting right now. So like tons of new and really great characters. And I feel like we are getting closer to some mysteries, finding some stuff out. So really, really great. Definitely everyone should read Yona of the Dawn, obviously, especially now. Next we have Vampire Dormitory, which I read 5 volumes of. This series is getting an anime, and I am so upset by it because this manga is terrible. It's sort of the worst manga I've ever read. Like, I did not enjoy reading this at all. One of the reasons I think is just like a manga thing, and like a translation thing, just like the phrasing. It's like, so Vampire Dormitory is about this girl who is like orphaned, and she kind of dresses as a boy to like avoid being harassed or whatever, and she ends up running into like some vampires, goes to school with them, lives with them, and kind of develops a bit of a, there's like, and helps one of the vampires like learn to drink blood, and like her blood tastes really bad, but is like trying to improve. I don't know. It's just like there's a lot of like plot stuff that gets lost. Like there's this thing about the main vampire dude who he only likes 2D characters, but that's only brought up like it's not really brought up that often. It's like forgotten, but it's like in the beginning it's like laid out as this like main part of his character but never brought up. There's a phrase that like the girls, she's always like, oh, I was passed around like a hot potato to Holmes or something like that, and I'm like, why, what is this phrase, why was this chosen as the phrase? And it's repeated all of the time, and I know that's because stuff is put in magazines, but it's very annoying. And just like, I don't know, I just did not enjoy this series at all. It's one of the worst things I have ever read. The story is just like kind of all over the place. The characters don't really make any sense, and yeah, so Vampire Dormitory is going to go to license announcements from publishers because I read 5 volumes of this and I wasted my time reading it, and I hate that it's getting an anime. Why? Okay, so next we have Fushigi Yugi, which is an all-time favorite of mine. I love Fushigi Yugi so much. Fushigi Yugi was one of the first, like, it might have been the first manga I ever read. I don't know. It was either that or Cardcaptor Sakura. But I love Fushigi Yugi to death. I finished the series this year. I don't know if I read the whole thing. I think it took me 2 years to read it. But it is excellent, beautiful, amazing. My only criticism of Fushigi Yugi is the second half of the series. So you have like the main like Suzaku arc, okay? And that's kind of like where like we have our main problem, you know, set up in the beginning, and then it is solved. And then you have this whole like kind of second half of the manga which is kind of like an after story. It's kind of like what happens afterwards. And it involves a lot of spoilers, so I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is. Even though Fushigi has been out for decades and you should read it. But I know that a lot of people haven't. But you should remedy that because it's excellent. So this second part of the manga, like I did not enjoy it as much. It just kind of felt like the manga was popular, so they wanted Yuwatase to write more, and that's what she came up with. So it's not as good. Like I understand the value and kind of like the meaning behind it, but it does kind of seem like it was written because the series was popular and they didn't want to end it yet. Like the magazine didn't want to end it yet. I mean, there are a few other things about Fushigi Yugi that do deserve criticism, but I think it is largely a very important work for shoujo manga. It is often, I think, boiled down to kind of like dramatic love story or whatever, and this kind of like always breaking up between Tamahome and Miyaka, always breaking up and getting back together, and kind of this melodramatic love story. And it is melodramatic, but it is also like super like action packed. The art in it is so good, and the action sequences are so good. And in one of the side panels, like Yuwatase is like, yeah, I had to hold back on some of this art because it's a shoujo manga and whatever. But like also like Tamahome gets stabbed by like some tentacles and like thrown off of a cliff. So like he also punches a tiger in the mouth. So like it is not short on the action, and I feel like if you want a good like action-packed shoujo manga, like you need to read Fushigi Yugi because it is excellent. Of course, Fushigi Yugi, it's so hard to say, is going to, if you only read these, you'll be set. Because I feel like everyone should read Fushigi Yugi. Next up is My Happy Marriage, which is like the popular shoujo this year. Super good. I feel like the title for this is really misleading because there's a huge supernatural element to this, and I was not expecting that, because you think it's just gonna be like a cute historical romance series, but it is so much more of that. It's super emotional, deals with a lot of kind of like abuse and kind of like recovering from that. There's also like a really interesting supernatural element to it that I really enjoy. So like I love like fantasy romance series, so this is right up my alley, and it's historical setting, perfect for me. So really enjoying My Happy Marriage. I think I've read 4 volumes of it, which is about what the anime covers, so excited to read more of it. So My Happy Marriage is going into shoujo anime coming soon because I had a really great time with it. And next up is Lovesick Ellie. I finished Lovesick Ellie like quite recently actually, and this is one of my favorite manga of all time. I loved Lovesick Ellie so much. So Lovesick Ellie is a high school shoujo series, and it is about a girl who basically doesn't have a lot of friends, and she basically lives in her own like little fantasy Delulu world. She tweets a lot, especially about her crush on the popular boy in school, and she ends up meeting him, and he is nothing like what he presents outside, like to everybody else. She kind of finds out his true self, and it's kind of about them getting together and their relationship and them like growing together. I really like Lovesick Ellie because of its like approach to kind of like female sexual desires. And it's all like kind of like very like innocent. It's not graphic in any sort of way because it is for teenagers. But it does show that like women and young girls do have like thoughts about like sex and relationships, and they also want those things just as much as boys do. And I think that's something that is rarely shown in media about teenagers, or if it's done that way, it's very slut shamey. And this is not that way at all. Like it's kind of played off as a little bit of comedy, but it's really fun, and I think it's really positive. So I love Lovesick Ellie for that. Like I felt a lot of kinship with Ellie. I feel like if I had had Twitter, like if Twitter had been a thing when I was in high school, I would have been Ellie. So I felt very close to Ellie. So Lovesick Ellie, completely worth your time. So much fun, a really good message to it. So Lovesick Ellie is going to, if you only read these, you'll be set. Because I feel like everybody should read Lovesick Ellie. Next up is Hi, I'm a Witch, and my crush just asked me to make a love potion. I think that's the title. So I only read one volume of this, and it was really cute. It's kind of about this secluded witch, and this knight comes and asks her to make a love potion, but she has a crush on this knight, and she's kind of like, what do I do? Like, I don't want him to be in love with somebody else. So she thinks that it's for him, like for him to use on somebody else. And it's just really cute and kind of like a cozy, like fantasy-ish romance. So it was really fun. So I don't have too much to say about it because I've only read the one volume, but I think I want to read more of this. So I'm going to put this in Shoujo Anime coming soon. Next up, we have Chihayafuru, which I'm really behind on right now, and I need to catch up because it's going to be ending in English soon. It's already ended in Japanese, but I really need to get up on my Chihayafuru. But it's so exciting now. Obviously, we're deep into it. I think we're in the 40s when there's 50 volumes. Almost done. But like, Chihayafuru is the best sports anime or the best sports manga you could ever read. Super interesting characters, excellent art, really good like symbolic meanings to stuff. Beautiful series. You need to read it. So it's going into, if you only read these, you'll be set. Next up, we have my special one. So I've read 3 volumes of this, and I love this series. So this is a series about a girl who doesn't like pretty men. And then one day, this guy comes into her family's restaurant, and he turns out to be a famous idol, and they like strike up a relationship, and she ends up dating this like famous idol, and it is so much fun. It's like every idol fan's like Delulu fantasy coming true. Like, okay, so first off, this series does have an age gap. The girl's in high school, and the guy who's the idol is, I think he's like in his early 20s. But it's also about a girl who happens to run into a famous idol and starts dating him. So nothing about this is realistic. It is just purely like a Delulu fantasy, and it is so much fun. It's surprisingly heartfelt. Like volume 2, like kind of made me cry a little bit. You kind of find out more about the guy's past and kind of like why he is the way he is. It kind of made me cry a little bit. So I really enjoyed this one. If you like romances between idols, you will love this. There's a lot of like really fun, like idol fan stuff in here, so really great. So I'm gonna put this one in Shoujo Anime coming soon because I had a lot of fun with my special one. Next up, we have Rainbow Days, which is a manga about stupid high school boys and their relationships, and I love shoujo manga about stupid high school boys so much. There's some weirdness in this one, but it was a lot of fun. I really like most of the boys. There's like one boy that I don't like very much, but super fun, kind of like an airheaded main character and kind of him chasing after his love interest. I really like it a lot. I love it when like there's shoujo manga about dumb high school boys. So I'm enjoying Rainbow Days a lot. So it's going to go in shoujo anime coming soon. Next up, we have another idol manga, and it's Phantom of the Idol. This is a josei manga, and it is about a idol who is only in it for the money. He isn't really interested in being an idol, but he just does it because it's his job. And then he meets the ghost of a really popular famous idol who is really passionate about being an idol, and she starts to possess him so that he can like not do the work. And she gets to live out her dreams of being an idol even after she's dead. And it is so much fun. I really enjoy the scenes with like kind of like the fans of this idol group and just the way that they see their idol, his like personality, and then the gap that is created when he's possessed by the ghost, and like which one of him are they gonna get. It's just so much fun, and there's so much like the comedy is really great. The side characters are all really fun, and it's just a really great time. If you're a fan of like idols at all, you're gonna really enjoy this one. I think if you're not a fan of idols, it's also gonna be really fun. It's a really great comedy series. Really recommend. So that one is gonna go into, I think, shoujo anime coming soon. I've read 3 volumes of it, but I think I need to read more to know if it's really gonna be, if you only read this, you're gonna be set. Next up is Snow White with the Red Hair. We have been reading Snow White with the Red Hair forever. We're really catching up with the Japanese release now, so we're getting less and less volumes a year, which is really sad. I think it's on hiatus right now. I think with Snow White with the Red Hair, I think we're at 25 volumes in English, and my problem with Snow White with the Red Hair right now is that there is not enough Shirayuki and Zen. They're kind of apart right now, and I need them to be together. But there are some really good like plot lines that have to do more with politics and stuff like that. So really fun. But Snow White with the Red Hair is always going to go into, if you only read these, you'll be set, because it's perfect and amazing and beautiful. Next up is Tamon's B-Side. So this is another idol manga. Like I've said a million times in this, I love idol manga. Yeah, Tamon's B-Side is about an idol who kind of has a gap in his image as an idol. He's like kind of like this wild sort of idol, and then his real self, which is kind of very unsure and very kind of depressed and anxiety riddled. And he ends up meeting this girl who fills in for his housekeeper, and she's actually like his biggest fan. It's about them, like this girl helping Tamon to gain some confidence and that sort of thing. So super, super fun. I feel like, again, like the idol fan culture is perfectly depicted. So much fun. I see like I have recommended this to like my idol fan friends, and they have said it is beautiful and perfect. So much fun. So this is going to go into shoujo anime coming soon, because I can't wait to read more of it. And then finally, we have The King's Beast. And The King's Beast is very good. I kind of stopped reading it. It was getting really interesting. And then I got spoiled on Twitter for a major plot point. It wasn't intentional, but it kind of ruined my enthusiasm for the story, because there's a big mystery, and the answer to the mystery was spoiled for me. And so now, like, kind of my excitement for it has cooled off a little bit. I do think that the art in this is beautiful, and it gets better with every single volume. But just my interest in it right now has kind of plateaued. I do want to continue reading it. But I think there's other stuff that's coming out. Like, I might not get the rest of it until it's finished. I don't know. I'm just really upset that it got spoiled for me. So I think normally I would put this in shoujo anime coming soon, but right now, because I don't have a lot of interest in reading it, it's going to go into arguing about manga demographics. But it's not as bad as Golden Japanesque, if that makes any sense. And that is all of the manga that I read this year and how I would rank it. I am really good about picking manga that I want to read, and I don't pick a lot of stuff that I don't like. I know what I like in manga, And so most of the time when I do these rankings, it is all like positive. I rarely read stuff that I don't like. So yeah, these are the manga that I read in 2023 and how they stacked up against each other. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these or what your favorite manga of 2023 was. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more manga goodness from me. That is all I've got for you guys today. I'm Chrissy Lou. Till next time, matane!